Robyn Regehr was just suggesting that Rasmus Andersson should have shaved his legs for this edition of After Hours.
Makes him look bigger. Come on.
Just put some pants on, maybe.
Yeah. This is a nice representation of a quarter century of Flames hockey with us tonight. Robyn Regehr, Rasmus Andersson, Craig Conroy, Michael Backland, the captain of the team's just getting some post-game treatment. He may be able to join us later, but Flames named their first and second teams of the last 25 years today. Iginla, Gaudreau, Tkachuk, Giordano, Regehr, and Kiprusoff on the first team. Backland, Conroy, Monahan, Andersson, Phaneuf, and Markstrom on the second team. Is everyone in agreement with those picks? Rasmus, what do you think?
Looks good. Looks good to me. Just happy I was on there. So it looks great, and you know, play with a few of them, and have to deal with Connie here every day too. So it looks good.
And you may have to deal with him on another matter ongoing here. We'll leave that for another day. Ryan, where would you like to begin the interrogation?
I like where you were going. But we'll just stick with Rasmus. First of all, congrats on the win. If we could maybe just get a game thought and your goaltender, because he, you know, this Scott and I were chatting. He's homegrown right now, and he is really proving that he belongs.
Yeah, it was you know, it was a game in the trenches tonight.
Yeah.
Wasn't pretty, but you know, we'll take it. First period wasn't our best, but you know, we kind of worked our way into the game, and Wolfie was unbelievable. Like he's been, feels like every home game this year. So it was a massive win, and you know, beating a division rival too, what makes it even better.
To stay right in the hunt as well, right?
Exactly.
A point back of the second wild card.
Yep.
Robyn, as the only member of the first team with us tonight, we'll leave it to you to take us back to the
big deal
to the 0-4 run to the Stanley Cup final. Flames came within 2 goals of winning it all. What is your most enduring memory of the run?
I would say how the city embraced hockey and the team again. I think you know, for me personally, it was one that I'd never been in the Stanley Cup playoffs before. I was 24 years old, so first taste of playoff hockey was amazing. And you know, I remember the excitement in the building, and it started early. Like we'd be downstairs underneath in the concourse, warming up, playing two-touch soccer or sewer ball, and you could hear the fans screaming, chanting, and getting excited already. And as the game went on, it got more and more exciting. As the playoffs went on and the different series, that kind of permeated on out to not just the city, but the province, and even Western Canada and all of Canada. So it was actually a really fun time to kind of be involved with that, but also ultimately, you know, pretty sad too, in that you put in all that work as an individual and as a team and all that excitement, and we fall 1 goal short, and you fail in the ultimate goal in winning, and something that, you know, for me, I dreamed about all my life. So it was kind of a tough time too.
Flames were Canada's team back in 0-4 for sure. So Nick DeSuma says the obligatory ask, no matter how many times it's been done, was it in? So we cannot talk about the 0-4 run to the Stanley Cup final without talking about Marty Gelinas' goal or no goal. Game 6 here, 7 minutes to go. Game tied at 2. Gelina had scored the series-winning goals against Vancouver, Detroit, San Jose. Beats, or did he beat Nikolai Habibulin for the 3-2 and potentially Stanley Cup winning goal? The game didn't stop, and no long review when it did. Tampa Bay went on to win it in double OT, and you still hear the chants around here of, it was in. Does it live with you to this day, Craig?
It does. I mean, obviously, right there, it looks like it's in, obviously. But they always say from the angle, it might not have been. But, you know, Saprikin thought it was in right away. He was the only one. Jelly didn't know. He just put his head down and started to back check. So, you know, I think when we were... And the whole end kind of jumped up, but from the bench we couldn't tell either. So, you know, now we have would have been a long review for that one if we had the review at that point.
Well, we're not helping anybody get over it by dredging it up here tonight, but we had to ask Ryan.
I'm glad you did. Rasmus, let's go to the stare down. I wonder, I mean, it's something that throughout the entire season you've been doing when you score goals. You find a member in the audience who's wearing the opposition sweater. You find them, you give them the glare, you let them know that you've just scored. Where did this come from? What is the inspiration behind it? And will it continue?
I feel like you have to continue at this point, but I got to score first. So it feels like it's been a while. And, you know, on home ice, it isn't always easy. But, you know, it doesn't really come from anything, I think. It's just, I remember scoring, the first one I did, it was my 100th point. And, you know, and then when I thought I scored a nice goal, I started doing it. And then this year, it was just kind of kept going. So
pre-planned, or do you scout out where they are just
sometimes
in case?
you have to.
You go right to them. So do you scout them out in the warm-up or what?
There's this one too.
This one takes the cake. You didn't. I mean, you stared straight for
4 hours.
Yeah, 4. But I mean, 10 straight minutes of just glaring at us.
Yeah.
I thought that was the
They cut out when I had a donut
gift.
too. So.
I'd say you stared for 4 Timbits. About 4 Timbits staring.
I actually had one, but they cut it out, and kind of glad they did.
Speaking of trademarks, Robyn, you had one in your 11 years with the Flames, and that was how you hammered Ales Hemsky in the Battle of Alberta at every opportunity. And here is your explanation of why you did it from 12 years ago on After Hours.
Oh boy.
There's something that happened a couple of years ago to me. I try to play everyone as hard as possible, especially the other team's top players. But just after I'd hit Hemsky one time, the puck came to him again, and I went to go hit him a second time, and he got his stick up and he cross-checked me right in the throat. And I didn't really like that whatsoever. So I guess I just hold a long grudge. That's all.
So the question from Wiley's Corner, Robyn, the obligatory, do you keep in touch or exchange emails with Ales Hemsky to this day?
I do not. I've run into him at, I think it was a charity event or charity game up in the northern part of Alberta. And let's just say that the relationship is very cool. That's all I'll say about that. There was non-contact in the game, and I was not happy about that, but I think he was.
Okay. Ryan, we were hoping to have Michael Backland with us. He may yet join us, but for the time being, we've got to talk about his 1,000 games.
Well, sure. I think that was a pretty big moment, not only for him, but maybe, Craig, you can speak to it, too. Certainly, Rasmus, jump in, because you're close friends with him. You were a part of that moment. Craig, you've seen a couple of these, including yourself, who had 1,000 games in your career and change. But just the idea of what that meant to Michael and family, and just that type of career. Maybe you could both weigh in on that.
Yeah, I mean, he's played a huge part in my career.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's been by my side for all my games. And, you know, he's one of those guys where I can call with whatever, but it's got to be before 8:30 p.m. and before after that.
Regimented, isn't it?
After that, I can't call him. But, you know, he's just one of those guys who takes care of everyone. And I couldn't be happier that he, you know, finally hit it, and that it was, you know, a beautiful ceremony. And I thought Flames did a great job. And, you know, if there's one guy that deserves it in our team, it's him. And he just takes care of himself every day, and hell of a leader and a really good captain.
Two eras of the Flames' last 25 years are linked by two players, Robyn Regehr and Michael Backland. I think, Robyn, your last year with the Flames, 2010-11, was Michael Backland's first. What did you think of the Swedish rookie who would go on to play 1,000 games and become Flames captain?
Well, he showed up, you know, with a lot of praise. You know, a high draft pick, and had played really well previously. Had been in Calgary, I believe, for at the time the Max Midget tournament, which is now the Circle K, and so there was a lot of hype around him. And he came in and actually was he struggled. He struggled a little bit, had some injury problems, things like that. But what I really, really love about Michael is he's a good person, and he's a hard worker, and he figured it out. And he put the work in off of the ice, and kept a good attitude and kept at it, and has turned into a tremendous, not only tremendous hockey player, but a tremendous person, a leader on the team, a leader in the community. Him and his wife Frida do a great job. So that's what I'm really proud of him for, is that, you know, there was some adversity there along his career path, and he dealt with it. He didn't hide from it, and I think he grew from it and learned from it, and helped him become a very successful player.
He is just the second player to play 1,000 games in a Flames uniform. The other, of course, the famous Jerome Iginla. So that takes us to Iggy, the most prolific goal scorer in Calgary Flames history. He's at 525. I'm not sure anyone's going to catch him in this lifetime. So, Craig, tell us how quickly you figured out you were playing with a goal scorer when the Flames acquired you from St. Louis prior to the 0-1 deadline.
Well, when I got traded here, he sure didn't want to play with me, to be totally honest. You know, he thought we had enough checkers in the team, and he actually said that in the paper, and I thought, oh, welcome to the team. But next year, we started the season, and we were in Detroit, and Marc Savard was playing with him, and he actually got hurt, and I got to jump in and play with him on his line. And I remember thinking, we came over the line, I just slid one over and he scored. And I thought, that was pretty easy. So did it again. I think he had like 20 some goals in like 20 games when we got going. And then even when Savvy came back, we got to stay together, and it was fun to play with him. I mean, he was one of those guys where I would just lay it to an area and he would out-muscle and just beat everybody and score.
Was it the first thing he said to you, though, in your first game with the Flames was, next time you dump it in, you can go and get it? Because that's not what we're doing here.
Well, it was like, I thought it was kind of like a 2-on-2, so I dumped it in, and he said, what are you doing? I'm like, what? I'm like, I dumped it in. It was 2-on-2. He goes, we're here to score, and if you dump it in, you can go get it and then give it to me. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a long year.
So Michael asks, do you remember how you and Jerome would read books and gather intel to improve your strategy in the game Age of Empires? Have you two been able to apply any of those same techniques to managing the Flames? Because, of course, you've hired Jerome as a special assistant or consultant.
We used to work so hard to play this video game, Age of Empires, and we played with Sean Donovan and Reggie, and they actually didn't tell us everything they could do. They crushed us every road trip until we figured out how to make a stronger army. Which I don't even know how was fun for these guys. They just love crushing
It's about
us.
the economy, Craig. You got to look after the economy.
The
so
economy
you can have
was
that
the key. Yeah, we spent a lot of time trying to learn that game, and we weren't very good.
Nerd alert. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was bad.
Right.
Craig, we all know you to be one of the nicest guys in the game. But when it came time to hand over the C to Jerome, was that tough for you? I mean, how did you handle that? Was it just sort of one of those things that felt needed to be done? What was that conversation like?
Yeah, because captaincies are usually stripped of players. They're not voluntarily given.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jerome doesn't hide his emotions very well, and Shane Doan actually became captain in Phoenix, and they played together and they're buddies, and he was like, I can't believe he's a captain before I'm a captain, blah, 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 and he was all over me. So I remember him and Marty were in the steamer, and I went and saw Daryl, and then next thing, I went into the steamer and said, Jerome, do you want to be the captain if I give it to you? And he said, yes, absolutely. And that was it. Done.
Were you compensated?
He didn't. No.
Yeah, with a job after.
Yeah.
Hey, you gave Jerome a job after.
And I give
Come
him a
on.
job. And
exactly.
I give him a job.
Come on.
He owes me a few for sure. But it was the right thing. He was the captain at the time, and my contract, I was in my last year, so I just thought it was time for Jerome. He was the true leader on the team, so it was an easy thing to give. Yeah, and he's my buddy, so it wasn't a big deal.
Well, the most obvious selection to the first team of the quarter century for the Flames, Jerome Iginla. Let's hear from him.
I didn't dream he was going to be as good of offensively as he was, and love passing like he did. I always loved playing with him, and he was a guy that sure seemed to enjoy passing the puck, and that worked well with me because I love shooting it. Reggie, played with him a long time, and what a great competitor, a guy that makes whatever team he's on better, on and off the ice, his leadership, his toughness, and he came to, when he came to play every game, he came to play and play hard. He loved the defensive side and punishing guys. Rasmus, Gio, they love to be involved in the game and on both sides of the puck. The offense that Rasmus has been showing. But I think it's just that all-around game. And Backland has been such a cornerstone of the franchise, been here for so long. And I loved, I love his compete again. Like Reggie shows up every day to work and very consistent player. I also love how Bax this year, give him a shout as being the fittest Flame, that's not easy. Post after 30, you know, it's just easier at 25 probably to be the fittest Flame than 35. So it's very, very impressive, and shows you his work ethic. And both those guys are very strong leaders for this crew, and it's been fun watching them, partly as fans and partly management side for sure.
Well, I'd say Jerome was spot on, but now, Ryan, let's get to Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, I reached out to Matthew just to sort of see what this quarter-century nomination might be like, and he immediately wanted to talk just about the honor. And here's what he said back. He said, look, this means a ton. Had some incredible memories that were made by so many individuals around me. I feel so honored to be included with some of the great Calgary Flames, especially Johnny Hockey. And he would go on to talk about just how easy Johnny Gaudreau would make his job. And, you know, you guys know, you know, you have a special relationship with Johnny Gaudreau, and certainly for Matthew to be on that team with Johnny as well. I mean, it's been an incredibly trying few months for that family and this organization on this topic, and certainly for the fan base. But I wonder if you guys could just speak about his impact. Craig?
Well, I think the one thing is, even when we drafted Johnny, I was really excited. Maybe one day Jerome would get to play with him, because I said, you're going to love playing with this guy if you can play together. He's a special. He's like, really? You know, remember, he wasn't really sold when I first told him. And then after he was gone and watching Johnny do what Johnny does, he's like, I would have loved to played with him. You know, and it was just a special thing to be able to bring Johnny in to see what he did here.
Rasmus, near and dear to your heart, one of your best friends. And, you know, it's never going to get easier, but just the idea of him as a person and as a player, as a teammate.
Yeah, I mean, if you started as the, you know, person, he was a little quiet in the room. Didn't say a whole lot, and but once you really got to know him, you really got to understand him. And he was so funny, and he loved, like, you know, the small chirps here and there, and he loved getting after me, you know, me backs, and so, like, he would always be in it. And once you really got to know him, became a really close friend of yours, like that. And you know, he was one of my better friends. And then as a hockey player, I mean, I don't think people realize just how skilled he was. I mean, he could show up 1 minute before practice, put his equipment on, and just go out and be the best player.
Yeah.
And it would like nothing. You know, some other guys got to stretch in the gym for half an hour before, and he would show up a minute before meeting, just cruise around the meeting, and then put on his equipment, best player on the ice.
Be electric.
Yeah, be electric. And and he was just one of those God-given talents, and he was so skilled, and yeah, he's a dear friend that will be missed my whole life.
The hockey world obviously still reeling from the loss of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew. The Dubuque Fighting Saints of the USHL retired Johnny Gaudreau's number tonight as he played there as a 17-year-old. An obvious first-team selection, Miikka Kiprusoff, man of a few words, had more to say to Ryan and I on After Hours here last March on the occasion of his sweater retirement than he did in 10 years with the Flames. What do you make of Kiprusoff's place in Flames history, Robyn?
Well, I think he earned it and did a great job of it. I thought he was so easy to play in front of, in that, you know, he was probably the quietest goaltender that I've ever played with in the dressing room and outside of the arena. And then you'd get on the ice with him, and you're playing with him, and it's nonstop chatter. Like, it's, hey, you know, watch behind you. Hey, like,
he did know English.
Like, he did.
Of course.
So I really enjoyed that, and then also his competitive nature. A lot of people don't give him credit for how he competed and how durable he was, and you could see that by how many games he played consistently. That doesn't happen by fluke. And so I talked to him about it one time, and the best time to talk to Miikka is after he's had one or two glasses of wine, and he starts to open up a little bit. Yeah, exactly. And you can't smoke on the airplanes. So anyway, we would sit there, and I said, you know, what do you do? And he's like, I get up and I stretch. First thing I do is I stretch, and do that for about an hour before I even come to the rink. And he's like, I watch all the games. I know who the shooters are. I know where their setups are, and I know the power play setup. And I do all that on my own.
Perfect. Well, listen, we're out of time. Wish we had more of it. Thank you, all three, for joining Ryan and I tonight on the occasion of the Calgary Flames quarter-century teams named earlier today.